Hey everybody! Well, today I thought we could take a look at another cool kit from Timberkits. Now this is the Knee Knock Dock. It looks like another really cool kit. Now this is one of their newest ones that they have, and so I don't even know what it does. I was looking at their website, and usually they have a video link that you can see how it moves and stuff, but as of the making of this video, they didn't have a video up showing what it does. So I'm assuming that the doctor hits the patient's knee with that little hammer right there, and his knee kicks up. You know how you go to the doctor and get your physical and they check your reflexes? And I'm assuming that's what he does. Now, I don't know if he's got another reaction. The patient, he probably does. Maybe the doctor moves a little bit because it looks like there's some stuff moving around. It looks like maybe it's his hand. You can see the post down here. So it'll be interesting to see what all he does. Now, this falls under their advanced category, so I hope it's not too complicated to put together. There's a lot of pieces in this, so let's go ahead and check out what those pieces look like. Let's open this up and take a look at what's inside. Alright, so we got those trays like the other kits. They usually start with these big pieces on the top. This is the, looks like the base, probably the doctor's body or something like that. I always have to kind of figure out where the lid is on this. Okay, so that was the first tray. Here's the second one. This is where we got all those dowels that come into play in holding things together and kind of like make the arms and legs move. And these are the locks, these little dots. So there's a lot of stuff in there. This next tray looks like that might be the top part of the kit. Let's see if I can get this out of here. That was probably going to be the floor, is my guess. That's interesting. Yeah, so there's some large pieces there, and then ooh, we started getting into some smaller bits here. So it looks like we got some hands right here. It's probably the patient's hands. That's kind of cool. Some inset drilled parts. These parts, once again, very nice looking. I think it's birchwood that they mainly use for these. There's the glasses for, I think the doctor is wearing those. And then, boy, there's quite a few trays of parts in this one. Look at all these. These are probably the arms and the leg bits. Very, very cool. All right, so we have the usual things going on here. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, looks like there's a supplemental parts pack here. Okay, so I'll have to read what that is. They did this before on one of the kits. I can't remember which one that I did, but it's nice that they kind of corrected whatever was wrong with that. So I'll see what that's all about. Get a piece of sandpaper in case you need it. These are those little separators that keep things from getting glued that you don't want to have glued. These come in handy. We have the metric ruler. That also comes in handy. And then we have the wax crayons, which are perfect, that you can wipe this onto the parts that rub against each other. And then we have a nice thing of glue, so everything you need is in this kit. Love it. And then, of course, we have the instructions, so we'll kind of thumb through all of that. So the instructions are pretty thick. One of the thickest ones I've ever seen. So we got the glossary on the front here that has all the different parts, and they're all numbered to help you figure out which ones you're supposed to use. And then we just immediately start getting into the build. Now, I wrote here, check addendum right there. So that little extra bit, this sheet, they did make some corrections in here. For instance, on the original instructions, this is how the cams go, but they did that wrong. They actually are supposed to go that way. So it looks like the one on top, you can see the difference here is actually going to the right. So I wrote a little note right here to remind myself to look at this sheet when we get to that point. So you might want to do the same thing. And here we start building all the interior stuff. Now, it looks like on page, let's go up to page 30 here, right here. Now, I also did a check addendum. So it looks like they corrected that piece. Instead of the dowel that has the 3mm by 12mm, it's supposed to be 3mm by 16mm. And they tell you that on the addendum here, and they even give you those pieces. So that's very nice. Then on the following page, I also put another note there, and that is because they said that if you are, the mechanism, I guess, that makes the head raise up and down, if it doesn't work quite right, they give you this extra spacer, this little disc, to help make that move properly. So that's cool. I'm glad they caught that. Now, as I said, this is their newest kit, so they probably just kind of discovered all this stuff. So there's quite a bit to this one. It's going to be kind of a complicated one. Hopefully everything works. All right, well, I can't wait to get started on it, so we may as well get going on it. Okay, so this is what we got so far. So once again, we have an interesting bit of mechanical stuff going on. And when you are gluing all that in there, you have to use that addendum to make sure that you have the disc here and the disc under here, and then these pieces here are facing the correct way. So make sure you follow that properly. But it's really cool. Now if we turn the handle here, let me get a grip of this, you'll see what it all does. See all this moving stuff going on in here? So you have that moving up and down. You got this ball that's like a counterbalance, and then this long piece moving. So I think that for the doctor, I think the only thing that moves on him is his arm, where he hits the patient's knee with the hammer. And then I'm guessing the rest of this is the patient's reaction. So that ball is probably his knee kicking up, or his leg kicking up, and then there's probably a reaction from him as well. I'm not really sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Now this piece here is the top. This is going to be tricky to put on because this little kind of trough-like thing right here, that's where this piece is going to fit in. And then this hole, you're going to have to try to get this pin so that it goes through the hole right there, and then at the same time you're going to have to try to glue it on here. So it might be kind of tricky, but hopefully I can get it to go on properly. But it's a pretty cool little thing going on here, and I'm always amazed at the engineering behind this. All right, well, so far so good. Okay, so I finally got all these parts painted, thank goodness. So let's start with the doctor here. I just gave him the typical white shirt or overcoat. Those are his arms right there, and then this is his torso, and you can see here how that looks on the back. And then that's his head. And I just gave him some white hair like this, and the scalp isn't on yet, or the jaw. They said not to glue that yet. I don't know if his mouth moves or not. I don't think it does. I'm not really sure why that is the way it is. I guess we'll find out. Let's see, what else? This is the hair right here for the patient. It kind of goes around his ears right there. And then these are his glasses. I just used a Sharpie marker for that and just painted them silver. And that's the ear pieces for the glasses. And then I gave the patient a blue torso and blue shirt right there. That's his arm pieces. And then I gave him some hot green pants. I just figured it needed a little bit of color in there, so I thought that was kind of cool. And then I already got the doctor's legs put in place here. I went ahead and just gave him some black pants, so you can kind of see what's going on with that. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything as far as the painting goes, thank goodness. So now I can finally get back to work on the assembly. And here it is all finished now. Oh my gosh, this thing is really cool. I really like this one a lot. So there was a couple of tricky parts here and there that I want to talk about when I was doing the final assembly of this, but it's really cool. Now let me see here. Let me activate it. So you'll see him hit the patient's knee, his leg kicks up. He has some movement in his head, and so does this guy. So let's do this. Let me try to get a good grip on it. So as you can see here, you can see how he's hitting his knee, giving that reflex. And then you can see how the doctor's face, see how his hair raises up and then his mouth kind of opens. It's supposed to be like a reaction to his overreaction to getting his knee hit. And then this guy, you can see how his head bobs back. Now, the thing about this is the head's supposed to bob back enough that you can see his mouth open like that. And it kind of does if you do it quick enough. But the other thing that's supposed to happen is his glasses are supposed to fly up as well. But there's not enough of a reaction going back to really get that reaction from him. I mean, even if you do it manually, you can't get it to come up that high. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I wish it worked the way they said, but yeah, I don't know. That part is kind of a bummer, but it took me a while to make that even work the way it did, too. All right, so let me get some close-ups so I can talk about some of the things going on there. So the way the doctor's reaction works is pretty cool. So you got this strut going on right here. That's that section where they tell you if you need to add that extra disc to go ahead and do it. And I did need that because it wasn't quite high enough. Also, I made a mistake with this first ring right here. I put one that was too thick. I think it was number 21, and it was supposed to be number 75 or something. So I actually had to get in here and pry that off, which was not easy. So yeah, once again, I did something wrong. But here you can see now, let me move the camera down so you can see what's going on down here. Now see this piece here, when you turn this, see how that's all moving like that? So that piece right here, this plank, is pushing that part up. You can also see the ball moving down there. You can also see all this stuff. I'll get a better look at this in just a minute. But when it hits that piece right there, let me get the camera back up. You can see what's going on with this. So watch inside of this part here. And you'll see how it pushes. See how it's pushing that up? And that's what's making the doctor's head raise. So the top of the scalp here is actually not even glued on. You can pull this part completely off if you want. See how that's kind of on there like that? So you don't glue that, but you do glue the post. There's a thinner post that goes into this thicker one here, and you glue it to the top of the scalp on the inside. And then that's how that ends up reacting like that. Now when you're building this part, the instructions tell you to take the sandpaper and round this off because it's just squared off. You definitely do want to round that off and then also wax the heck out of it. But you can see how that works. This works really well. And then over here, let me see if I can go back down again. Now you can see what's going on with this. Now this part here, this piece goes back and forth like that. And that's what makes his arm do the knee knocking. But you can see how that goes in and out like that. There's a lot going on in here. It's pretty amazing. All right, so now you can see how that moves. So now when we go back up here, you can see how it makes the doctor's arm go inward. And just a little bit, but just enough to knock the little baton here into the patient's knee. And when you're putting this together, you have to be, you're going to have to, kind of glue it, and then it'll give you time to, while it's drying. But you're going to have to make sure that you kind of line this up just right so that when it hits his knee here, you want it to kind of hit just right. If you have it too far away or not close enough, it's going to get caught. This thing is going to get caught on his knee because how it raises right there. So you're going to have to sink it just right. You'll have to try it several times to make that hit just right. So it's a little bit tricky, but it works pretty good once you get it going. Down here now, you can kind of see how all this works. So let me turn this. See all that going on in there? Now I showed you that earlier, how all of that works. So you'll get a little bit of resistance when the patient's body goes back. You'll feel the resistance on it. And once again, you're going to have to kind of try to, mess around with it to get it just right. This part here is pretty cool. I'll just turn this to make this work. But there's kind of this double cross section here for the arms. And that's what makes the arms go forward. So you can kind of see what's going on right there. So this piece right here is pushing up. I think is what that's doing. Yeah, I think that's the part that pushes up on his knee to make his knee kick up. But at the same time, it pushes the body back. You can see how his torso comes back. And then because these two struts in here are kind of off-center a little bit, it makes the arms raise like that. It's really cool. They've used that method before. And then this part here is kind of like it's just on a really loose pivot point. And then that's how his head kind of bobbles around like that. It's just kind of on there rather loose, but it's kind of cool. So that works really well once you get that going as well. When you're gluing this guy's head together, it's kind of tricky as well. You have to get his hair piece in just the right spot in order to get the proper pivoting action right here. You need enough gap in here so that his head can go back. But then you also have to make sure that this is like where it needs to go. Also this part, there's a dowel that goes through his head. That needs to be loose so that the glasses can pivot on it, because the glasses are actually glued right onto that ring like that. So it's all kind of like a thing that has to be in sync just the right way. But here you can kind of see how that moves. But I do wish that it had the proper function to do what it's supposed to, because this is loose and so are the glasses. But unfortunately, I just can't get enough of a bucking kind of, like power behind it to make it really do it. Maybe if I tip it a little bit. Well, I don't know, maybe. Maybe if I wedge something under it. I mean, you can kind of see what's going on when you wiggle it like that. But yeah, it doesn't get enough kickback to make the head actually bob back like it's supposed to. The part that makes the guy's leg kick up is all in this piece right here. You can see this, see that little post right there? So it pushes up on his leg just like that. Now they don't tell you to do this in the instructions, but once again you're going to have to take the sandpaper and just kind of round off the top of this, because otherwise it's flat and it kind of gets stuck. If you round it off like that, it slides up and down underneath his leg a lot easier, and also whacks the heck out of the bottom of his leg right there where that's dragging on there. But you can see that that one post is what creates all this motion for just the patient. It's pretty cool the way that works. So I really like this one. This is probably, well, I don't know. I built, I think this is like the 5th Timberkits kit that I built, and I really like this one a lot. This is their newest one. There's not even a video on their website that shows what it does, so I wasn't really sure, what it was capable of doing. But it falls under their advanced category. It is kind of a more advanced build. But, if you're kind of new to these, maybe you want to start with one that's a little bit easier than this. But I do think it works really good once you got it going. His head does work pretty good. At least his mouth kind of opens occasionally like that. I guess if I kind of do it, I don't want to be too rough with it, But, yeah, it works really good. It's quite the feat of engineering that they come up with for these things. As you can see down here, all this stuff going on. This ball, it's a counterweight, but it also works as a sound effect. So when he hits the knee, so you can see how it is timed to make that sound. So I think they did it on purpose to make that sound effect. So I think this retails for around $65, I think is what I saw. $61, somewhere in that range. The prices are in pounds, so I forgot what it was. I did the conversion and I forgot, but it's somewhere between 61 and 65 pounds. But it's a lot of fun to build, a little bit on the challenging side, which is fine. You don't want things to be, I guess, too easy, or maybe you do. I don't mind stuff being easy to build, but I really like this. So I'm very impressed with these Timberkit sets. I'm not sure I'm going to get any more. There's a couple more that I might consider in the future, but I really like this a lot. So if you're interested in this, I will put a link in the description below, and you can check it out. And you can check out some of their other kits as well, because they're really great. Alright, well that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'd very much appreciate it. And until the next video, I will see you then. So thank you very much, and have a good one.